Welcome everybody to the Area 111 live stream. This is your host RH coming at you again from the beautiful sunshine rainy state of Florida. Um, just getting things going tonight. Here it's about 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. That would be 2200 hours if you want to call it that. Good to see you, Tanya. Good to see everybody that's coming in. Those that like to remain anonymous in the background, you can come in and change your code name or whatever, and you don't have to reveal your face. You can wear the a hockey mask or whatever. That's fine. Whatever. It. Thank you for being here. This is very transparent. This has been a pretty transparent live stream, or this channel's been pretty transparent the whole time. Even basically talking about some of RH's exploits or whatever you call it. I can't really call them expeditions, but anyways, yeah, it was raining today. Nice rain. Good to see you, Travis. Hopefully, I can use your code name, Travito. Travito. uh, yeah, I figure out how to send you. If you want to come up on the panel tonight, that's great. That'll be cool. Maybe you can help me shut down another channel. You know, but yeah, I had a pretty good conversation with the Search for Truth last night, talking about certain things, and these people, I'm telling you, man, one hand washes the other, right? CYA. This is the highest level of CYA I've ever seen. I think I've ever encountered. Uh, yeah, great to see you again, Tanya. It's good to see a wrench. I used to, play around and call them the winches, but I don't think they like that term, so I was being polite because I get flack here inside my own residence. Sometimes a flying pan could come pretty close to knocking the noggin out of RH here, so I got to watch what I say sometimes. But anyways, CYA cover up, conducting grand conspiracies, criminal conspiracies to overthrow our government. Oh, that's all allowed. That's their democracy. Okay, if you saw the place card holder video over on Rumble, I know y'all are over here on YouTube, but it's probably already gone away. I don't know how long it takes for me to go live over there, but anyways, I placed uh, a short video. That's what you got to do to set it up over on Rumble. But anyways, it's only 14 seconds long, I believe it is. But I'll tell you a little bit about that video. That video is from a guy named Norm Eisen. Okay, used to be Obama's White House counsel. I do believe he's also a Harvard graduate and basically one of the pinnacle figures in the lawfare and all this stuff going on against the president of the United States, the former president of the United States, and candidate for the presidency of the United States of America, Donald John Trump. Now, they are criminally obstructing. I'm going to call this for what it is. They're criminally obstructing President Trump's nominees because they do believe, using Norm Eisen's own words, he's not some little low level figure in the background, with all this lawfare. He's one of the pinnacle go-to guys for lawfare, political criminal lawfare against their opponents. Remember, they facilitated and directed an invasion for 4 years into our country, bringing in over 20 million people. Hey, good to see you, Canito. Great to see you here. I'm going to check out something here. I haven't done this in a long time. I think I used to run on Restream. So a lot of people remember the live streams were called RH, and they wasn't, the channel's called RH. It wasn't called Area 111. I changed that later on. I guess I could change it back to RH. That could be why I lost thousands of viewers. I was getting thousands of viewers for a single live stream. You know, so anyways, yeah. So Norm Eisen puts out a public statement that they're going to eject President Trump for office. That's just eject, right? Okay, that's a harmless word. He basically said he's one of the pinnacle figures of overthrowing our duly elected government again. Again. The very first minute after Donald Trump swore into office at 12:01 p.m. on January 20th of 2025, Norm Eisen's ground troops served President Trump with a complaint, a criminal complaint, a lawsuit. Before Trump even got in office, basically even to get his bearings straight, they already had put together all these lawsuits against Norm Eisen. When he put this out, it was around March of this year. Around March of this year, he said he had over 200 lawsuits already written up, already drawn up. And of course, you know where they get the money for all this stuff. You got the mega donors, special interests, the far left nutcases, I'll call them. That's my opinion. That's what they are. They're nutcases. You see them out on the street. You see them playing their stupid games. So like in Texas, I mean, we're gonna put all this together. People go, well, RH, you're talking about this, you're talking about lawfare, you're talking about that, and the broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow our duly elected government. Lawfare, lawsuits. You know what that is? They're criminally obstructing President Trump's nominees from being put into those positions, required positions, for us to have a functional government. That's for us to have a functional government. Okay, the search for truth. All right, thank you. This is all obstruction. This is all criminal obstruction. They basically are going to mealy mouth everything in the mainstream media. Water everything down. Nothing to see here, folks. Oh, there's not going to be military tribunals. Nothing. This isn't treason. What we've seen happen to us. This isn't treason. Really? What about facilitating and directing an invasion into our country? What about this avatar photograph here? She's no slouch, by the way. To her right, to the right hand side, her right side, is the CCP, Center of Disease Control Director, who helped oversee the what? Bioweapons labs in China. I mean, anybody could see this. I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words. What was Event 201? Well, I'll tell you what they put out there. I tell you what they transmitted with their little smoke signals. the day before. CNN put out a moody study from top-level economists. Democrats need to sharpen their attacks on the Trump economy. That was October 17th of 2019. That was an article which confirms to all of us that they were attacking our livelihoods for their own personal interest. The very next day, Democrats were. They were calling for the Democrats to sharpen their attacks. That means lawfare, bankrupting, putting our mom and pop independent businesses out of basically bankrupting them, shutting down their doors, never to open again. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their jobs. The only ones that survived through that, most of them were very strong sectors of private sector, which basically, like in the restaurant business, a lot of times the net profits only come from the drinks they sell. So there's this very small margin of profit. I know because my family owned restaurants. When the Iranian oil crisis occurred, the seasonal business from up north, they stopped driving down. They couldn't even get enough gas to drive down to visit all our sites in Florida. Florida has one of the biggest tourist industries in the world. That basically destroyed it. So going back to what we're talking about here, these people have committed such great evil for their own personal interest, the love of money, and greater positions of power, because that brings up what? That brings in more of their money. That they covet, right? That they love. So this picture here, who is Avril Haines in the picture? Now, everyone's presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. These are only just my opinions. She wasn't, it's just my opinion that she was a major participant in Event 201 global pandemic exercise based on the new coronavirus. The next day, after CNN put out the Moody study from top-level economists, Democrats need to sharpen their attacks on the Trump economy. The reason why overall the economy wasn't totally destroyed was because of President Trump and because of the global corporations that benefited from it. Okay. So anyways, yeah, I'm gonna try to walk softly here and try to lower my tone. These people are going to go back, oh, everything's business as usual. Nothing to see, nothing happened. Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory, RH. Avril Haines wasn't worked under Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and John Brennan as the deputy director of the CIA. Avril Haines wasn't working for Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Susan Rice as the deputy national security advisor. But she did none of those things. She didn't have the intel what was going on in the early October of 2019 in China. She had no knowledge of any of that at all. That's just a conspiracy theory. What's a conspiracy theory? We saw the mainstream media show these people being gathered up off the street in China, right? People being boarded into their homes. How do you think that affects an economy? Remember President Trump's travel ban, January 31st of 2020, remember? That was racist, they said. It was racist. After the travel ban on February 24th of 2020, Nancy Pelosi's out in Chinatown, not social distancing, no wearing of a mask or face cover, whatever, going out there and promoting her donors in Chinatown. Oh, that's the conspiracy theory. That around that same time, the first case hit the United States, right? That's what we're told. But Intel, they knew something different. Do we seriously believe at this point right here at Event 201, the day after CNN put out that Moody study, Democrats need to sharpen their attacks on our economy? Okay, Trump economy, because they'll say, that's disinformation, RH. That's the Trump's economy. That's not the people's economy. That was Trump economy. Well, that's where you saw the lawfare and trying to bankrupt them. That was a conspiracy to bankrupt all of us, to enrich themselves. Whether it's insider, you know what I'm talking about? Whatever means possible. Enrich themselves at the expense of American citizens and reward their own. Give them the lucrative contracts, whatever. They won't even talk about it. Why? Because in one way, shape, or form or the other, they were all complicit. These people were all accessories of mass murder, in my opinion. You can say whatever you want to. You can lock little RH up in prison, whatever you want to. I've already seen the evidence. It's undeniable. The collusion, the foreign interference, everything. Remember, the executive order, the lawful executive order 13848. The first session of the 117th Congress. What did the clerk of the Congress read? What did she unseal to be read so the whole public see they had their diversions? You know, it's to a point now that people, if they aren't held accountable, then there needs to be obstruction of justice charges. That's the reason why they're blocking Trump's nominees. That's to obstruct true justice for once in the lifetime of our country. Well, I'm pretty sure they had justice about 150, 200 years ago. I'm pretty sure they had justice. There'd be no way men and women would allow this to continue and not allow these people to be held accountable. Anyone that wants to stand in the way of true justice, they're obstructing justice. Whether it be all the lawfare or whatever they're doing. See, the reason why Norm Eisen had put forward all these, he's just only one little bad cookie, in my opinion. Just one little bad cookie. He said it himself. He bragged that they're going to, he's pretty confident. What? High level of confidence? What do they call that? Greater confidence? Not lesser confidence like the crowd strike? We already know all that stuff. We read their own report. It's see, they're so afraid. And this is the thing. I don't blame a lot of people for not having all this information or even thinking about it because they got a life to live. They juggle their family life and their official positions and their careers and all that stuff. I would have never known that any of this stuff before I was warned back in 2008. In some ways, I wish I never started this pursuit of getting to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Because where is it gone? Oh, President Obama, he's got presidential immunity. What? Oh, it's not treason. Oh, senators can lie when they're on their way to their sessions or while they're in session or when they're going back from sessions. They got a right to lie. It's just not when they're in sessions, right? So they give our government, our so-called representatives, the license to lie whenever the hell they feel like it. To obstruct the president, to obstruct the executive branch of our government from ever holding anybody accountable. What do we think those congressional people in Texas, what are they doing whenever they're saying they're not there in New Jersey and New York to play games, right? That is a stupid game. The title of tonight's live stream, National Democratic Redistricting Committee. That was put together by the former community organizer and his wingman, the former AG, Eric Holder. They try to distance themselves from it, right? They try to distance themselves from it, but it goes back to Organizing for Action, where they literally put together like a 30,000 foot soldier army. They put together a 30,000 troop army. Oh, you think I'm delusional? Some people, I'm not saying people in this community. Does everybody here think RH is delusional? What do you think they did for 4 years? For 4 years, they facilitated and directed an invasion into our country to fill the districts they needed and redraw the maps. They got caught. And now they're playing this stunt, this game, by going to New York or New Jersey to hang out there so they don't have to vote. That's obstruction of justice. That's obstruction of justice. That's sedition for the state of Texas. and you go arrest these corrupt. In my opinion, they're corrupt as hell, or they're just low IQ and misinformed, purposely misinformed. Who do you think these people are getting paid by? You got some big old guy, looks like he's the damn mafia leader out there, leading that little escapade of obstructing the government of all Texans. Obstructing, they were the major victims of that invasion for 4 years to enrich their own people, to gain more seats and more higher levels positions of power, to try to overthrow our duly elected government. This all ties in together. It all ties together. It's so simple. All I got to do is show a few pictures. They said, "Oh, we put together the National Democratic Redistricting Committee to stop the gerrymandering of the maps, the electoral maps in the districts," right? So what do we think? We got them. They're caught. Oh, all right. If you go through with all the rest, there won't be. We'll lose half our government. Well, delegate the authority to people until we have time for the elections. Honest people. Do an actual record search of these people. Do a background check of these people. Get people in the wings ready to do it. Take over. I'm sure there's plenty of people. All you have to do is freaking read and be able to comprehend what you read. Right? To be able to write. You can type, you got a clerk. You don't even have to edit anything. You can misspell every damn word. They can just come up to you, well, what did you mean to say here? Are you taking lemon drop shots? Are you talking about the so-called lone wolf shooters? Shots, shoots, shooters. Well, based by this word here, okay, well, we know what you mean. I mean, I'm seriously, I don't believe these people even care. They don't care what bills they even write, because the majority of them, they don't even read before it goes into law. They have no idea what's put into these bills, as long as they're taken care of. They are personally taken care of, not their constituents, not us. You go to all these cities, they look like third world cities. Tent cities, people that don't even have a tent because they can't afford a tent. I saw people living in a box in boxes. Maybe those were when they duplicated, you know what, those pieces of paper, they called them, they put them in those gaylords to ship them, right? Maybe they were living in gaylords. They cut out a little window, you know, a little flap, so they could bring some air in, right? Living in boxes, literally living in boxes. I know people like widows on Social Security only get like $800 a month. You know how much just one bedroom apartment in Florida is? I tell you what, it costs a lot more than $800. We're talking about sending aid to Yeah, Hamas, into Gaza. I'm sorry, aid to Gaza, right, for the people going hungry. What about people on the streets? What about all the men in our country that is basically addicted to methamphetamines, for example, and they cannot work? They're not functional. They can't work. They're up 3 days straight, and then 3 days they have to sleep. When they crash. Yeah, they taught us as supervisors or managers in the military to see signs for this stuff, right? They get very irritable, you can call it, very angry, violent sometimes. You can see them. They can't function. Yeah, they might be able to function 3 days, but they can snap on you. All those people that have died from them facilitating and directing an invasion into our country to basically bring them into the districts that they need. They got caught. Okay, we just don't want to. We don't want to rock the boat, RH. We don't want to rock the boat. What about the tunnels that they've basically located? The highly technical equipment, biometrics like computers and stuff like that. I mean, that can basically, you got facial recognition, like equipment, and stuff like, you could test DNAs. And what is that for? Y'all have to go check out the movie called The Island. It's a 2005 movie. Basically, we talked a little bit about clones, and whenever we talk about clones, it's like some people's like a deer caught in the headlights, right? What? Oh, come on, RH. That comment. It's conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory. What I say, drones, clones. Drones and clones are conspiracy theories made up by you. You're a far right radical guy. You believe in God. You darn right I believe in God. And I'm not ashamed of it. It's a blessing to have faith. You conspiracy theorists. Back in 1997, they came forward. I think it was in the Rose Garden. Bill Clinton came out there, and the Health and Human Services, whatever, chairman or whatever those people were, and they talked about the morality behind cloning. Well, that's classified, all right. You ain't read into the program. I read the presidential findings. Oh, it was just a sheep. It was just the first. I think that was the first successful clone was a sheep. I think the name was Molly. I mean, talking like it's a human being or something now. Do you think that they just stopped right there? No, they continued on. Next thing you know, you got so-called cloned meat in our grocery stores. And then they changed the name to Fox. Probably because they thought, well, that's a unique name. So yeah, most people they won't even look it up what it means, Fox. I had to look it up. I never heard the term. On a piece of meat, I was going, wow, man, this must be a different type of meat here. I'm talking about him in a major food grocery store chain. I'm looking at the label of this thing, and it says Fox.
Faux. It's artificial. So heck, it might not even be a clone beef or whatever, or a clone cow or whatever, Angus beef, whatever. God only knows what it is. I mean, think about the evil that these people have gotten away with. Oh, it's identical. All right, you got nothing to worry about. Yeah, we want to give you a. Are you hearing voices? Do you hear voices? Are you going? Are you thinking about hurting yourself or others? Let me get you to stand up next to that lion picture on your wall. Uh, yeah, he's one of those David Davidian people. He hears voices. He believes in God. That's what you're up against. We are. There was just genocide that happened in one of those. I think it was. I don't know if it was the Congo. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Over like 48 Christians were just murdered for no reason other than them being Christians. Horribly murdered. Well, it ain't none of our business, RH. That happened way over there across the world, and we got a lot on our hands right here in our own little cities. Yeah, you do. Because of the demons y'all helped put in power. I mean, so yeah, it got a little bit loud there. It's because I have a living soul. It doesn't this doesn't anger you. I don't know what will, because you got to have a living soul. You got to have feelings, you know what I mean? You got to have a conscience. Can't say I have a God conscience because I'm not God, obviously. There's a guy out there said he was the conscience of the world. The open borders and legalizing drug guy, right? The mega, the president of the chairman of the DLC. They'll put the little puppet in that position, but really it's not the chairman. Oh, RH, the Republicans are just as bad, you know. Well, you may be right. Maybe right. Some of them. Is there one single good Democrat out there? I don't know. God's the judge for that. But what is their foundation built on? What is their foundation built on? You know what they had during their convention? That was their convention, right? Remember they had those little trucks coming up there and offering procedures? Let's make it free for all of everybody. Let's make it free. That's pro-death. Pro-death. pro false witnessing, pro lies, pro deception. I mean, at least the Republicans, for the most part, have some type of semblance, that's a word, of law, of upholding the law. And they say, many of them, they support our family. They don't support destroying the Western nuclear cell of a family. What do you mean the Western? You mean everybody out east? Everybody out east for you Marxists out there doesn't support a family based on the father, the mother? You know, why? What do they don't support? What are they talking about? The Western nucleus cell of the family. Destroy the Western nucleus cell of the family, then what happens? What happens when you destroy the Western nucleus cell of the family? Population reduction, right? The only ones that are left are them. To create their own artificial, to try to recreate their own artificial family in their image, in their likeness. Um, you know, if I was like the House Speaker, I was the Senate Majority Leader, I would stop all these little recesses and all that stuff. Right? You could talk to your constituents through your television. Okay? You could talk through your website, whatever. You can maintain the communication that way. Right now, this should be a national emergency. What should be the border secure, RH? The problem is they facilitated and directed an invasion, which included a foreign military insurgency, foreign military and terrorist insurgency into our country. They're just lying low. See, they have to intermingle. They have to mix in. Like you got Antifa, you got also Intifada. Look it up. That's also communist Marxist organization to help attack the occupiers. The occupiers. The occupiers, the Israeli occupiers of the former kingdom of Israel and Judah. Those are the occupiers. Really? Okay. Yeah, I guess they got to have people to do their dirty work, and that's basically what it looks like to me. They have to have people to do their dirty work, and they can go out there and smile. They got those what do you call it? Bleach white teeth, and man, my God, I had to put my hand up between me and them, and you know, Hey, there's nothing wrong with bright, shiny teeth, but my gosh, I mean, tone it down a little bit. Put a shade on them. This is crazy. So you think about it. Think about all this. Let's go back to the broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow our duly elected government. The broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow our duly elected government. Before our government ever got in government. They started in 2016, maybe even in 2015. They were probably already doing opposition research, right? Getting those computer scientists to hack into the Trump Tower servers, right? It was free game for all of them. They used to love the guy before. You see President Trump, former, well, when before he was president, right? Before he even ran, he was helping out Jesse Jackson's campaign. I don't know how many people remember that. Then he was Al Sharpton was buddying up with him. Let's go back. Let's go back to the origins of this stuff. In 2008, I was informed that the guy that was running for the president, that he was the chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee, and he was blocking measures to stop partial birth. You know what they call it, right? That was his main. It was one of his main objectives. Well, I guess that's helping to destroy the Western nuclear cell of a family, isn't it? Before a family could even begin. No, you can't ban that. We're going to protect that. Think about it. That's the foundation they laid. If the Republicans even resemble that foundation, I will remove myself from the Republican Party voluntarily. If they go anti-family and pro-death and pro-lives and pro-theft, you're not the party for me, period. If you let these people go through and not be held accountable for treason and mass being, at minimum, complicit to mass murder, you're not my party. I don't want anything to do with you. Nothing. I will shun you. Well, who are you? You're real. Who is this guy RH? He's like a loser like that Judge Roy Moore, that 10 Commandments judge. Who do you think you are? No, the question is, who do they think they are? They think they are God? They have a right to decide who lives and who dies? That's what it boils down to. You got a guy. I don't know. I don't believe in the 4 years that President Trump was in office, his first term as 45, and this 6-8 months, whatever that we're in now in his second presidency. I don't know one instance where he actually targeted U.S. citizens abroad and had them killed. I don't know of one instance that the President Trump did that. If anybody has an instance where President Trump targeted American citizens, whether they're abroad or at home, please bring it to my attention. They set up assault operations with the authorization of lethal force to go in there and take information from Mar-a-Lago that they thought would implicate themselves. That would basically uncover, we already knew this stuff happened. Let's go back to Robert Mueller and their criminal obstruction tactics. See, they know that criminal obstruction of securing our border and all that stuff, that they're guilty of it. But they'll falsely accuse others of exactly what they've done, right? So they can take over the investigations themselves to destroy all the criminal evidence on themselves. What was the Russia hoax built on? Because you go back to Uranium One. You go back to the Russian reset. You go back to the very bed that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama slept in when they're sleeping with the enemy. You can say it that I don't know. We haven't declared war on that country, Russia. Let's be real here. They were sleeping in the bed with the enemy. They formulated the Russian reset. They were sending uranium to Russia, and the funds was going through where? Remember Peter Schweizer's book? What was it called? Clinton Cash, right? Through the foundation. So it was what? An Intel front group? It wasn't really a foundation, or they piggybacked on it, right? Oh, it was all for peaceful purposes, RH. So it was covert. I'm pretty sure none of the senators that were very concerned about that death to America chance that they were making over there about uranium going there through using Russia, because Russia was an ally, a strategic military ally with not only Iran, but with China and also with North Korea. So Russia, because Russia was their friends back then, they were colluding with Russia heavily all throughout the thing, even through the Steele dossier and the Kislyak, the Russian ambassador to the United States, phone call to General Flynn. That was their collusion. Their collusion. Oh, we can't have. Hey, Vlad, I can only imagine the phone calls or communications that Barry had with Vlad over there in Moscow or Novo-Ogaryovo, where Obama and his intel chief flew to right? This is all out there in the public domain. Don't target me. You know what they say? Loose lips sink ships. And because you got so many narcissists on your team out there, these people know what I'm talking about. They can't help themselves. Just like Obama on CNN being interviewed by the guy, the author of the Post-American World that Obama loved to sport around with. He bragged about overthrowing, basically putting together a coup to remove him from power. Yanukovych had started the war. Hey, if y'all like war, that's your thing. Hey, be proud of it. Me personally, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. That would be a great honor to be called a child of God. Oh, you believe in delusional stuff, RH? You know, yeah, we're gonna have to get you evaluated, and see how how crazy you are. These people are so stupid. They don't even protect their own self-preservation. They're out there, nuke them. That's how stupid they are. Remember, mutually assured destruction. What is the acronym of that? MAD. Mutually assured, A, destruction, D. MAD. Mutually assured fools. That's who they are. Well, we'll just threaten them there. We'll just get it up. We'll tell you when to simmer it down a little bit. I can only imagine these psychopaths, their threats behind. Remember, there's a lot of innocent people that live all over the world that are just victims of circumstance. They live there. That's where their homes are, whether it be in America, whether it be in North Korea, whether it be in Russia, whether it be in China. We're not against those people, honest, law-abiding people that aren't involved in a murder or assaults and destroying our Western nuclear cell of the family, that support literally murder. We're not against them at all. What is our foundation? If we identify as a Christian, right? Why did they say Judeo-Christian? We were founded on Judeo-Christianity. Because that's in part where our Constitution was derived. You can even go back where Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, basically came to Moses and said, man, you're burning the candle at both ends here. You're judging all matters, whether they're small or large. What you need to do is you need to formulate the lower courts. Find able-bodied men that are knowledgeable of the law, right? Make them judges for less matter, like petty larceny or something, right? The guy stole an orange from me. Okay, well, let me preside over that. Did you steal that orange from that? I was starving to death. I had gone 2 days, 4 days without food and water. I saw that orange over there. I'm so sorry. Well, how much, sir, how much that orange cost you? A nickel? Hold on a second. I'll give you a dime. And would you like a couple more oranges, sir? So you don't have to steal them in the future. The next time, sir, if you need anything, please just come to me, and we'll. If I don't have it, I'll point you in the direction where you can get it. I know a church only a mile from me. You can. Are you able to walk, sir? Oh, we'll give you a ride. We'll call you an Uber. You can go down to that church, and basically they open up their uh, their closet, their food closet, whatever, and you can basically you don't even you don't even have to tell them your name. Just tell them how many are in your home, and they'll bring out food for you. Oh, God bless you, sir. God bless you. Okay, so here, do you need any more oranges, whatever, for your trip? It's 1 mile, so you should be there. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to give my family because they're starving too as well. Okay, so here, sir, I gave you 15 cents. Give the man 2 more oranges for his family. So give him enough time. He can go down to that food shelter. That's about a mile away. I'm going to call him an Uber, so you know, so you won't have to and say you're sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, sir. I stole the orange. I was starving to death. That's literally what we're seeing or we're hearing about in our own country. How are we any better or worse than a lot of countries around the world? You can't even take care of your own people. That's a sign. I think they call it an infidel when you can't even take care of your own family. And see, this is the thing. It's not like RH is just, oh, I just don't like Democrats. I don't like, what do you, I don't, it's like I don't go up on the street and go, hey, brother, hey, neighbor, are you a Democrat? Well, you know, you got to have discernment. Probably they'll just say a few words and then you'll kind of like understand. And, you know, what's a good shepherd to do? What do we shepherd people to and away from? We shepherd people to good, right? We don't shepherd people to gain the practical knowledge of evil. We want people to obtain the practical knowledge of good, right? So how many people raise your hand? I know you're out there. I know you can I can see you raising your hand, you know. I'm not omnipresent, so I don't even claim that gift or that ability. No way. I believe that God might gift me that, but I really, I don't know. It might be so much that I couldn't take it. Could you imagine being omnipresent at all crime scenes and good stuff going on while they're unfolding? Um, but it's not like we don't know this happened. I have no knowledge of. So, do we think that God wanted to keep us away from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil if it didn't pertain to evil at all? I would say, of course not. But, you know, So it was bad enough what they did in 2000, let's say 16, how they set all that stuff up. But remember, it was to cover up their own operations, right? To cover up their own operations. Remember that during the commander-in-chief, I guess they call it a summit or something, or commander-in-chief interview or debate with Hillary Clinton. You remember he asked about that, and that's the reason why they fired that guy. Oh, they went after that guy like crazy, just because he asked her a normal question that should be asked to all. How do you think that basically people can trust you with being a commander in chief if you can't even basically properly handle classified information, and you're basically using a unauthorized email server and sharing probably classified operations too, classified information. Man, you could see her short circuiting in her head. I need to find that debate, whatever, and get a video clip of that. And I heard after it was over, that's right there, her face and the way she handled it, you could see her boiling. Could you imagine if she was a pharaoh or something? What she'd do to that guy? What she'd do to a lot more people? Supposedly, when she left the stage and she got back behind the curtains or whatever, she said, this is a rumor right now. I can't prove it because I wasn't there. If that whatever person gets elected, we're all going to hang. So, does that sound like, okay, they were doing everything by the book? And they didn't need to worry about President Donald Trump getting elected because they did everything by the book. So, well, if he gets the best woman or man wins in, the election, and it won't be there to help provide a peaceful transition of power. And did they do any of that stuff? Just the opposite. That's what a liar does. They lie about what they're doing or what they have done to cover up their own criminal activities. So, 2016, they were going to ensure, the deep state were going to ensure that President Trump was basically criminally obstructed in every single direction he went, to include securing the border. Remember how long it took President Trump to actually get the funding to secure our border once he first took office on January 20th, 2017? Do y'all remember that? So they were already running that operation before Trump got in office in 2017. And the conspiracy, the criminal conspiracy, the broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow our duly elected government, which of course includes President Trump, it continues. It continues with the same perpetrators. Who do we think Norm Eisen is? Oh, but that dude, the limitations already run out, all right. It's an ongoing criminal conspiracy to overthrow Trump. Anybody associated with Trump, Trump's family members, look how many times they fraudulently subpoenaed Eric Trump. Look how they went after Donald Trump Jr. And you're going to let these people walk? That's the reason this avatar photograph right here is one of the reasons for Executive Order 13848. It's highly visible. It's right before our eyes. They were going to ensure by any means possible, to keep Donald Trump from entering in the White House again. They did everything to block it. Those impeachments should be annulled like they never happened because they were fraudulent. Oh, it's just a matter of record, RH. It's just a matter of record. Okay, let's go back to the obstruction traps, how they set up Trump with obstruction traps. That's why they're going after his family, directly attacking his own family members. Like Eric Trump, and they're going after all of them. Ivanka, Melania Trump, all of them. Basically attacking Barron Trump because of his name. In Normize and just in March. The debt to limit doesn't run out, RH. They didn't stop. They never stop. You might say they're more aggressive now than they ever were because it's CYA. Okay, what was Robert Mueller's purview? I think it was his secondary purview. Find ways that Donald Trump could obstruct justice. Find ways that Donald Trump could obstruct justice and report it to the acting Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. Remember that? Find ways. Okay, why isn't Robert Mueller and Andrew Weissman, I guess the head of the 18 angry Democrats that were basically running that what do you call it, the Office of Special Counsel? It was the Office of Special Prosecution to take down President Trump. That wasn't just some Office of Special Counsel. They tried to make it, they tried to sugarcoat everything they did. Robert Mueller's main job was to do what? And this is basically, it's backed not by circumstantial evidence, but it's backed by hard evidence. The burn bags. The burn bags, remember? Oh, that was the Inspector General. Remember how much salt they gave that? Oh, there's the Durham boat. We're going to decode the Durham boat that George Washington was in, right? I share it too. I think that's pretty cool. We're gonna give you little snippets of information here. That's the way psychological warfare operations work. They work with your mind. It's all a movie. You're just watching a movie. It's just a movie. Everything's going according to plan. Really? We got to wake up. 84.235% of the people before we could do anything. It's all part of the plan, RH. And the military is the only way. Really? Led by who? General Milley? See? Oh, it can never go to military tribunals. From my understanding, the President of the United States can bring former generals and look at how many military people were involved. Remember Lieutenant Colonel Vindman? Part of the fraudulent impeachment, right? Working in Ukraine, right? The fraudulent impeachments and basically, so they put him, when they got him to raise his right hand, his lawyers or the DNC lawyers, right, told him, right, hey, you can say this, you can say this. You can't say whatever, this or that or that. You just heard it from a friend who heard it from another friend who, okay, that's good right here, impeach him, whatever, for abuse of power, whatever. General Milley told his department chiefs, right, his other joint chiefs, to report to him if Donald Trump actually ordered the military on the streets of America. And he would decide whether that was a lawful order or not. So General Milley was also White House counsel, right? He was going to spare America from another Reichstag type moment of Donald Trump where he comes in and saves the day. Really? You know, there's stupidity. And what about Afghanistan? You bring out the troops before you bring out our people? People that risk their lives to help our country? You let 11 of our people or more, and more be injured in that terrorist attack? Of course, that came later, right? It's cheaper to leave all the weapons there for the IRGC and whoever, ISIS, whoever wants to go pick them up, or the Taliban. It's cheaper to leave all that stuff there. So no military tribunals at all. No, we're not going there. RH. We're not at war here. Really? They made war against us, American people. They implemented the PSYOPs operation that they were going to, a DARPA PSYOPs operation. That was the DARPA defense, whatever, scientific, whatever they call that, whatever that acronym. I mean, let me look it up, because I'm being kind of lazy here, but I don't want to lose the live stream either. DARPA. They used the DARPA PSYOPs. They're still using the DARPA PSYOPs on us. You can see it when their scripts, they're reading off the same scripts, right? They're getting a little bit better of changing those scripts around, but they're the same. They just gone more covert in their operations, making war against the American people. DARPA, U.S. government agency. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, right? Transforming military and civilian realities. The Defense Advanced Research Projects. So DARPA, the DARPA SOBS operation was a military operation to basically run against ISIS, right? They turned it on the American people. Oh, no, no, no. You can't have military tribunals, RH. No, 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 no. Well, I guarantee you put those people on a stand in a military tribunal, you think they're going to, oh, by consent of my counsel, I take the fifth. What's your name, General Mark Milley? Well, by consent of my counsel, I plead the fifth. What, you can't even tell us your damn name? It's ridiculous. They got it down. They got it down. They got it down pat, don't they? So remember, Uranium One. Remember the book. The information is out there. Remember, everybody's presumed to be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Whether I like them or not, whether we like them or not, it doesn't matter. They didn't afford that to Donald Trump. Look how many times they falsely arrested him. You know, whenever you falsely arrest somebody, that's like false imprisonment. Because what? Because you control his movement. He had to go report to these jails or whatever, or courthouses, right? They detained his movement. They obstructed his freedom of passage or his movement to go basically get mugshot and get his mugshots for him, the photographs, whatever, and get his fingerprints or whatever, like he's a thug. And all the Mockingbird media around the world, they were in unison. Oh, they just arrested the former president. Oh, I didn't like that guy to begin with. You didn't think that was part of the whole broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow our government? We don't think it still exists to this day. It's probably worse now because it's a lot more covertly done now. They know how to clean up their trails, their dirt trails, right? They know how to clean it up. And people going, oh, that's going to be, you can't do this or you can't do that. Okay, that information is destroyed. Robert Mueller could be arrested right now. Well, on what grounds, RH? From destroying public records. They destroyed all their phones. That's criminal obstruction of justice. Weissman and all those people, Weissman or whatever his name, Andrew, I think it's his name, right? He's the one actually leading the show with the 18 angry Democrats to go after Trump to take him down. That was the White House special prosecution. Not the White House. That was the Office of the Special Prosecution to take down Donald Trump and anybody associated with him. And they put out these fraudulent indictments knowing that those people, I think there was one person or company, whatever, in Russia, they go, we didn't do that. What the hell are they talking about, right? They went before court and they threw it out. They dismissed it. See, they still go by that. Oh, you got your indictments. They indicted Trump. They had to indict Trump, falsely indict him, right, to get the award to raid Mar-a-Lago. Because, see, they were deleting all their information, but while President Trump was in office, they were doing a great job behind the scenes to destroy all the dirt on themselves, because so many of those people were implicated in D.C. Anybody involved with that place, it's a sewer. It needs to be cleaned up. They call it a swamp, but I don't know. When you got over 90% people vote for a single way, you know what I mean? You think that's free and fair? It's all rigged. So I'm trying to influence things positively. If the people that have committed crimes, I'm not saying anybody has committed crimes unless they've been proven guilty in a court of law, right? There's been people in the court of law that have been basically convicted of crimes that they didn't even commit. And what do you have to do? You have to take it up to a higher court. They charged Trump with 36 felonies. Fraudulently charged the former president of the United States with 36 felonies. That's sick. They just made them up out of whole cloth. They just made them all up. Well, Rach, we got him on record. He was calling Russia to release Hillary Clinton's emails. It was a stupid joke for stupid people. We understand what they were doing. We understand that they were covering up their tracks because that's their modus of operandi. That's who they are. That's how they get away with all this garbage. You can't have the military tribunals, RH. That's unconstitutional. We're not at war right now. They made war against the American people. Look what their Mockingbird media did with their PSYOPs operation. They were calling us racist, homophobe, xenophobe. What? Yeah. Why do I have a phobia of people that are happy? Why should I have a phobia of happy people? What is there to be scared of happy people that go around and dress like little boys? What should I be afraid of a grown man going around dressing like little boys? Well, they're happy. I don't know how you could determine everybody's happy because they're happy. So, do you think about it? They falsely accused Trump of what they did to take over all the investigations that they knew they were complicit in, And that what Hillary Clinton said, remember, she said, now we'll have to get it verified, right? Yeah, and all these people that I would even call in Nagasone, the former director of the National Intelligence Agency. I would call him in. Seemed like a really stand-up guy, but I'd ask him some more questions. Okay, what questions would you ask him, RH? You know, I'm pretty sure he's trying to put out some breadcrumbs. I talked about this before. I want y'all to read this now. This is CBSNews.com. U.S. launched more than 24 cyber operations to protect election, top official says, right? Nothing to see there, folks. Free and fair, right? Talking about 2020. This article was dated March 25th of 2021. Okay? CBS News. Now I'm gonna skip over a lot of stuff here. I'm gonna get to the real breadcrumbs of what the Nagasone was talking about. Issued earlier this month by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence said there were no indications that any U.S. voting processes were altered in 2020 by any foreign nation, though several adversaries engaged in influence campaigns and apparent attempts to sway the election outcome. Okay, we got information from Colonel Phil Waldron. We have information from Greg and Catherine. Remember True the Vote? I can't remember what Greg's last name is. I think it was Steve Waldron. Let me do. I think it was Greg Phillips. Man, they really hopped on the information that Colonel Phil Waldron put out there, right? Oh, that's disinformation, right? They're trying to make him look like he's false witnessing, you know, all that stuff, man. They attacked him. See, NBC News, you know, whenever they all go after him, they flood the zone with their BS, right? The Mockingbird media. This is the people you need to listen to, right? Retired Army Colonel, NBC News says, retired Army Colonel who circulated election denying, whatever. Election denying? Let me go back to that. Let me go back to this avatar again. Who did Avril Haines work with? She worked with Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and John Brennan as the former deputy director of the CIA. In Event 201, global pandemic exercise based on the new coronavirus, she was Joe Biden or Biden's third term senior advisor. She was promoted to the position of director of national intelligence, where Tulsi Gabbard works now. They put her in charge of all the intelligence. You don't think that they were having their own little burn barrel parties? You know, you got the burn barrel bags, you know, and you got the burn barrels, you burn it in. Just like the Chinese Houston consulate in Texas, they were having their burn barrel parties. The moment she entered office, they were already doing it because of people that were trying to undermine President Trump when he got elected, because all these people, many of them were tied together in these operations, these covert operations, to include the SOPs against the American people. Okay. Now we're going back to that article, remember? I call them Greg and Catherine. True the vote. She might have her last name. Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips. Two leaders of True the Vote jailed by federal judge for contesting the election, right? No, for contempt of court. It's ridiculous. You know, they threw them in solitary confinement, and Catherine Engelbrecht, they actually put her in a cell by herself, would have had a big plate glass window on it, where basically they could watch her going to the bathroom and taking a shower. These people are freaking sick. See, none of those people that jailed by a federal judge for contempt of court. What, for telling the truth? That's contempt for them, right? You know, Greg Phillips was working with the FBI. You know, and a lot of people see they keep that out of the mainstream media so people won't be enraged what they did. And I don't give a rat's behind what political affiliation someone has. We would be against this if it was done to innocent Dems. Vote out of a Houston courtroom on Monday morning and into a holding cell. Federal marshals escorted the leaders of True the Vote out of a Houston courtroom on Monday morning and into a holding cell. Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips have been held in contempt of court for refusing to release the name of a person of interest in the defamation and computer hacking case against them, who they claim without proof is a confidential FBI informant. So I think now with this current attorney general, we can give these people immunity and get that informant, right? Okay, the computer hacking case was basically, I guess they hacked into a computer in China that was transmitting, that at least they talked about it. They were basically transmitting and receiving information on a main server. See, nobody even cares about any of this stuff. The real investigations, because DC was only worried about the cover-up criminal operation that they were involved in. Make sure they weren't caught. And some people say the cover-ups can be worse than the crime. Yeah, I guess you can say that's true, right? So, anyways, let's go back to where I was at. So remember everything when and their leaders running the show, what they're going to use to basically they're going to create a national health emergency, right? Where did that national health emergency, from what did it originate? What did that national health emergency, where did that originate? Oh, that's hard to prove, RH. Really? Where were they going too far as like global pandemic infrastructure? What did Gao say himself in Event 201? You can go watch it and listen to it for yourself. What was he calling for? The pandemic, global pandemic exercise based on a new coronavirus. What did Gao say? What did Gao call for? A centralized location where all the funding would go to, right? For the pandemic. Remember, around the same time that George Fu Gao, that's what, Kung Fu. No, I'm not being a racist. Uh, remember, who came out in, I believe it was 2014, and called for a global pandemic infrastructure. Global pandemic infrastructure. That would be Barack Obama. So, what was Gao calling for? For all the money going into this, it would. Gao was calling for a central location for all the monies. He actually said, "You got monies there. You got money. You got money." It was the 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 global pandemic exercise was basically Ted Turner was represented there with the UN Foundation. Also, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was represented with, I think his name was Elias. Was it Christopher Elias? I can't remember. But if you go watch Event 201, the highlights reel, you can watch it for yourself. This is where they talked about censoring, what they call disinformation, flooding the zone. And they ran it all with a DARPA operation. Remember, this happened during President Trump's administration. They were putting this together for the next E, right? Hindsight, perfect vision now. Where do we think that 6 feet or whatever, that social distancing, why do you think they proved that? Well, they got the national emergency, right? Oh, people can't leave their homes. We're going to board them up like they did in China. They can't go vote, so they can just vote by email, right? Vote by email. Or we're going to mail all of you a piece of paper, and all you got to do is fill it out and send us in. Organize for action. Have our community organizers out there. You said, ma'am, do you know your name? My name is Barbie. What? Barbie? Oh, that's nice. What's your last name? Doll. Ma'am, it says here your residence. Well, as far as the census survey, that your name is Jane Fonda. No, my name is Barbie doll. Okay, so um, Jane Fonda, I don't go by that anymore. My name is Barbie doll, and it says here you're old enough to vote. You're 356 years old. Wow, that's a coincidence. That's the same amount of days we have in a year, right? 356 days, 365, right? Oh, no, that's 365. You're 366 years old. You're 300. What was it? My name is Barbie, and I'm 356 years old. Okay, Barbie, uh, so this is your address, right? Yeah, well, I'm staying here, ain't I? Okay, can you fill out this piece of paper? Okay, can you want to vote for uh Ken to be your president, right? Yeah, I'm Barbie. I want Ken to be president. So yeah, um, yeah, can you put my vote for Ken? Okay, yeah, okay, sure. Just sign right here. Um, can you sign Jane Fonda? No, it's okay. You can sign Barbie doll there if you want to. Okay, I'll mail this off for you, Barbie, right away. Thank you so much, and I hope Ken gets elected. Thank you. Organizing for action. Community organizers out there on the streets, harvesting, harvesting rotten fruit, right? Doing everything they could. Make sure, see, they put them in the box. They paid off the insiders that were working and so-called working for Trump, right? To destroy any evidence that they saw in themselves. What a gig, right? What a gig. What a gig. So their MO is destroying all the evidence on themselves. Oh, you got to go get the destroying your hard drive. The book of dummies of destroying your hard drive. You had to go buy the book. Here's the evidence here. Oh, you just have, all you got to do. What, like wipe it with a cloth? Golly. So during this operation, there was not a single person in Trump's administration that was working in Event 201 in 2019. Remember, that intel person, if you knew that information, she had, well, she wasn't intel then, so she probably didn't, she wasn't being briefed. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure she was watching the news and seeing all those people being boarded up in China, right? They couldn't even come out of their homes. That's a great, what did they say? That's a great example of what we should do in America, right? Picking dead people up off the streets. And this is a key. This is a key here. During the time that he flew to New York to be a participant in Event 201, that's when they had that calm silent. When do you go calm silent? There's no cell phone activity at all, right? Around the facility that director there helped oversee. They, oh, it was just an accident, RH. They would do anything like that. It was just an accident. Remember, at the time, President Trump was fighting the unfair trade deals with China and the deficit of about $500 billion a year with China alone. Do y'all remember that? What is the motive? What is the motive here? Do you think they wanted Trump to be reelected? Do you think they helped him in 2017? The first order of business on January 6th of the 117 Congress was what? They unsealed a classified document that came from President Trump and his White House counsel. You have to go and tie it all together. You have to tie together the burn barrel party outside the Chinese consulate who called officials and let them know that they were going to shut that consulate down. For what? For helping to harvest rotten fruit? See, you have to have a distraction, right? Have a distraction. Nothing going on over here, folks. And say, Russia, Russia, Russia over there. When they were the ones that were sleeping in the bed of the enemy when it comes to Russia, 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 and China, China, China. When did that Russian reset spoil? Well, I guess someone at the receiving end of all that money, I'm pretty sure they wasn't getting rubles, wanted more money. They wanted more. We already have the evidence of who was behind sending tons and tons and tons of uranium to Russia to provide for Iran. So there was the payday, right? Remember the bed in Moscow that Barack Obama slept in? Why do you think on this Epstein's thing they're showing Trump's beauty pageant over there in Russia, right? He's colluding with Russia. He colluded with Russia to do what? And they put out that little runway scene, right? The same people that raided Mar-a-Lago to plant whatever they wanted to plant or get the evidence to destroy all their evidence on themselves. Trump's lawyer was there. A Marine, a former Marine staff judge advocate, a former Marine judge was there. They told her to stand out in the damn parking lot. Because there was some evidence they couldn't have Trump they couldn't allow Trump to have. Okay. The authorization. October 6th of 2020 is when we publicly found out that President Trump declassified those documents that they were looking for. I have fully authorized the total declassification of any and all documents pertaining to the single greatest political crime in American history, the Russian hoax. Likewise, the Hillary Clinton email scandal, no redactions. Okay, that was on his Twitter account. And I do believe that's when they shut down his Twitter account, right? Or before. Okay. I want to put this out there too. Former New York Police Department Detective James Rothstein said Watergate break-in based on pedophile records held at DNC headquarters. Wow. I don't know, but I don't know why I had that, but that's under the quote that Trump made on October 6th of 2020. Remember, October 6th of 2020, and this global pandemic exercise based on the new coronavirus was held on October 17th of 2019. So Trump released this before the 2020, right? He already declassified it all. See, there's CYA, they had to have those documents. So that's the reason why they set up a fraudulent indictment to get the warrant on Trump, right? For probable cause. So they raided Mar-a-Lago and they gave the authorization of lethal force. They set up an operation. Now, listen, this isn't normal. And I don't give a rat. I give a rat's behind what anybody of the so-called professionals have to say. That's just standard operating procedure. You know, those people are too stupid to even be in the conversation to begin with. We all know that they tried their very best to falsely imprison the former president of the United States. They were trying to falsely, basically, they already put together the fraudulent articles of impeachment. We've already proven that they're fraudulent. They're ridiculous. Trump had to declassify the phone call, right? See, they got Trump to declassify the phone call. Why? Because in the past, they released their intel, they released classified telephone conversations between President Trump and other world leaders to endanger his life. Still has nobody been held accountable with that. Oh, they could go, the statute of limitations are over. It's all part of the broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow President Trump or permanently silent him by any means possible to keep themselves from getting in trouble in real hot water. So when you get information like this that they have, you got to have chain of custody receipts. You just don't get some little political hack and open up a special prosecution on the documents, right? So what were they fighting so feverishly to get? To permanently silence Trump because of what he was read into. Remember? There's even still calls to this day to reduce President Trump's protective Secret Service detail. You don't think that's all applies to what they're doing or trying to do? Benny Thompson. They destroyed the evidence, the exculpatory evidence during the J6 committee. You think they're going to hold themselves accountable? See, they'll go, well, there's some derogatory information in there about Donald Trump. We don't think it's true, but it was part of the investigation. So if you want us to release all those documents, then we're going to have to release that derogatory. That's the way the sewer works in D.C. The dark, dark sewer. The dark web. They sew their little wrap-up smears together, all laughing and patting each other on the rear ends. Great job. Job well done. We're going to give you the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Is that free? So they brought in over 20 million people. Let me get back to this event 201. I mean, how stupid can you be to implicate yourself in what would come to our soil and sit right next to that? They're allies. Remember who General Mark Milley was friends with? Remember who he called in Beijing to basically say, don't worry about Donald Trump. We got him in a box. He's not going to do anything. I'm going to see to it. Okay. I'm going to get back to the Nagasone thing because I didn't finish that thought, but it's very important. Remember when they're putting all this together, well, yeah, we can, but what when we're counting all these ballots, right? What if that we got the observers? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of that. Social distancing outside the polling stations. We're going to social distance the observers outside, and we're going to basically place cardboard over the windows so they can't see. Whenever they go out for a cigarette break, don't let them back in. Because of COVID, right? We can't have them come back in. They're social distancing. We don't know who they're associating with out there. So we're just going to, whenever they leave, they can't come back in. Everything done right by the book. Social distancing. You can't even go to church. You can't even talk about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God in a church. We're going to shut them down. No gatherings. You can't even have your family in your own home. What a racket. If you can't see that helped them, their tyrannical rule, that was even when President Trump was in office. It got worse after Biden got in. It's more visibly corrupt after the Biden third term began. And anybody in their right mind knows that Biden wasn't running the show, and who were they protecting? Barack Obama had his own election headquarters only like 2 miles from the White House in Washington, D.C. It's where the coup operation began, but once it was basically exposed, they had to go dark. They had to go underground, right? And all of this, remember, they conducted a bait and switch. Hey, that's what the Senate investigation unveiled. They basically conducted a bait and switch. What are you talking about, RH? A bait and switch. The contract with the DOD and that company, remember, everybody's presumed to be innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. They were supposed to provide something safe and effective, right? To keep you from getting it and keep you from spreading it. They conducted a bait and switch. That information came from the results of a Senate investigation of that, what they were mandating. Compulsory. You see, President Trump, they were saying the only way we can stop the lockdowns is with the darts. The darts. They're waiting for me to say one wrong word. The little brown shirts out there, right? Of course, these are my opinions. Remember, this is a Law and Order host of this channel of Area 111. I'm RH. I'm the host of this channel. I'm a Law and Order guy. I don't believe in falsely witnessing against others I know or don't know. I believe I believe in the rule of law. I don't believe in violent acts unless they are part of your own self-defense or national defense. Okay, remember, they set up again. So part of this includes, remember what they did. They set up an assault operation to try to draw fire from what? U.S. Secret Service or people that were associated with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Why do I say that? Because they were ordered to wear plain clothes without any identification on them, whether what agency they were part of, whether a 3-letter agency, whether it started with a C and an I or not, I don't know. Basically, those when you got that uniform on, whether you're C and I or you're the F and B, whatever, those are reversible. Those uniforms are like reversible. Okay, 1 minute you can be the FBI, the next minute you could be CIA. But in that operation, you would think the people that were involved in that operation would even have concern of that operation for their own safety, the safety of the operation. When you're ordered to wear plain polo shirts or collared shirts or golf shirts with no identification on the outside, you even show President Trump's lawyer, oh, who are you? Where'd you go to school at? Show a warrant like 10 feet away? That's social distancing, right? Can't see it. The observers, they got to be at least 6 feet away. They better not have to go to the bathroom because we're going to say, I'm sorry, can no longer enter the area where you're supposed to be observing. Oh, that's right. We got a replacement for you. We got Hunter. What? Hunter? What's his last name? Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're going to have to escort you out of. Remain 6 feet away from me now. We're going to have to escort you out of the facility. But what are those? What are those containers you're pulling out from underneath those black draped tables? None of your business here. We're doing some little bit cleaning up here. It's a cleaning up operation. None of your business. Okay? All right. Don't worry. We got Hunter. He's taking over your job. See you later. They gave him a little foot in the rear end moment, right? And go, well, you can watch, you can observe from outside the building, but you put cardboard over the windows. This makes me sick of my stomach. None of these people have been held accountable for anybody, for any of their actions. I mean, this is treason. Well, all right, we wasn't at war at the time. That's only in case of wartime. Well, did Congress declare war, the Vietnam War, to get our troops in Vietnam? Did Congress declare war to go to war in Iraq? Did Congress declare war to go to war in Afghanistan? So what in your definition is war? Well, Civil War. We had a Civil War, right? They started the uncivil war. That's their MO. Putting 30,000 troop ground forces on the streets of our country, burning them down, burning down cities. That's the very definition of war. On our own soil, using the tradecraft of the military to conduct your psychological warfare operations. Okay, now it's a perfect opportunity to go back to that CBS article. On the face of it, right? See, with these people, you got to dig deeper. And sometimes you'll find breadcrumbs to give you the whole picture. Not the omission lies. What is an omission lie? Not filling in all the blanks. Right? Knowing something's out there. Oh, Donald Trump colluded with Russia to interfere in elections. Well, where'd you get that information? It's highly credible. It's our assessment. What are you basing that assessment off of? What is an assessment, by the way? It's an opinion. They used in part to justify the presidential finding that that Barack Obama ordered the surveillance of Donald Trump before he ever got in office, while he's still campaigning for office back in 2016. Barack Obama ordered the illegal surveillance on President Donald Trump, President Trump's family members, President Trump's associates, anybody basically going against what their Mockingbird media narrative was, what they flooded the zone with, they were investigating or trying to shut them down or falsely imprison them. That's what they have done. Okay. Now, remember, this report was put out there. This article was put out there March 25th, 2021. The crime had already been committed. Now, the title of it goes, wow, man, I feel safe now. I feel safe. Our E's were basically safe and whatever, fair and everything, right? Based on the title of the article. Again, U.S. launched more than 24 cyber operations to protect election, top official says, by Olivia Gazis, March 25th, 2021. U.S. Cyber Command conducted more than 24 operations to counter foreign attempts to interfere with or influence the 2020 elections. Okay. General Paul Nakasone, who leads both the military cyber arm and the National Security Agency, told a Senate panel on Thursday. The disclosure was a rare, if still opaque, look into Cyber Command's involvement in government-wide efforts to protect the 2020 presidential election, which the U.S. Intelligence Committee has said was targeted by multiple foreign actors, including Russia, Iran, China, and others. Really? China influence too. I'm going to tell you, they had no effect. Those look forward operations were basically did nothing. And I'll prove it by his own words. In testimony before the Senate Armed Services Committee, Nakasone said that Cyber Command teams had conducted 11 hunt forward operations in 9 different countries to protect the election. Hunt forward refers to the force's efforts to partner with allies to proactively counter or halt malicious cyber activity, including using offensive measures. Teams from NSA and the Cyber Command are also known to have taken steps to defend the 2018 midterm elections. Okay. It was unclear whether the operations Nakasone cited on Thursday were defensive or offensive measures or what or whom they targeted. He received praise from multiple senators, because they loved the outcome. Multiple senators. Which senators did he receive praise from? For the work, much of it. They noted done in secret. That NSA and Cyber Command had done to protect the country from foreign and cyber threats. Nakasone, who assumed his dual post in May of 2018, so he was basically, I think, appointed by President Trump, right? Told the panel that 2020 presented unique challenges that would inform Cyber Command's activities over the next year. Among those is continued fallout from the SolarWinds and Microsoft Exchange intrusions, both hacks with massive reach and implications for U.S. government and private computer networks. And hey, thank you for all the honest and hard work that people working in U.S. Cyber Command has done, and all the people out there in the 3-letter agencies. Thank you for all your hard work and you risking your lives to help keep us all safe. I salute you. He told the committee, now this is a very key point I'm trying to stress here. He told the committee that the NSA and Cyber Command which are authorized to operate outside of the U.S. to track and counter foreign threats, were limited by U.S. laws and policies in what they could see domestically. So they were free to operate and defend our elections overseas and our operations overseas. What is the Special Activities Division Political Action Group's primary mission? The Political Action Group, which is a group under the Special Activities Center, which is a division of the CIA, their main mission is to influence elections, both foreign and domestic. It has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, based on the Hunter whatever laptop and more evidence, that they are operating to influence our elections. Remember, they used a PSYOPs operation that was developed to basically for the DOD or for the military to conduct against ISIS. Okay? They used that against the American people. Basically, they turned the weapons of war on the American people. That's why military tribunals are justified. And they're still running the Mockingbird media operations as I speak. It's not the fact that we cannot connect the dots, okay? See, they were limited by laws. He told the committee that the NSA and Cyber Command, which are authorized to operate outside of the U.S. to basically fill in the blanks, to influence elections abroad, to track and counter foreign threats, were limited by U.S. laws and policies and what they could see domestically. See, they were limited by lawfare. You better not be watching over Da Vinci or Leonardo, or you cannot be tracking the cyberspace, those packets going back and forth across to Asia, whatever. You better not be watching that. It's not the fact that we cannot connect the dots. We can't see all of the dots, Nagasone said. What? Now, here's the bombshell. We can't see all the dots, Nagasone said. Adversaries understand that they can come into the United States, use our infrastructure, and there's a blind spot for us not being able to see them. Okay, let's go back in time again. Let's go back to history. Remember, on January 6th at 5:05 p.m., SOS, there was a document, a sealed document from the President of the United States and his White House counsel that was sealed and classified and ordered and declassified and unsealed to be read in the first 117 Congress. You have to go back and listen to that information very carefully. That implicates a foreign source of using our infrastructure to interfere. Let's read this again. It's not the fact that we cannot connect the dots. We cannot see all of the dots, Nagasone said. Adversaries understand that they can come into the United States, use our infrastructure, and there's a blind spot for us not being able to see them. Being able to identify and being able to fix those areas are part of the resilience of the nation that has to be addressed. So, who turned over our infrastructure? Who turned over our farms, our land, and pretty much everything to foreign adversarial countries? Just call them an opponent, like a political opponent, okay? A competitor. Just call them competitors then, right? Because I'm not false witnessing. They haven't declared war against that Asian country, right? Do you still believe that they wanted Donald Trump to continue on with his tariffs with China? Do you think they really loved Donald Trump coming in there and telling China what to do as far as trade goes? They agreed to some terms, right? Those tariffs were that helped our farmers out, right? Okay. This right here is the smoking gun in the communication. And I do believe. See, what's the problem here? Nakasoni's the general. Oh, I think he's retired now, right? There's only so much he can say to get to the bottom of it. That's the reason why we have to have military tribunals. You know, we saw them colluding. We saw the flights going over even Raffensperger, right? Remember? Go out there and research, Google search refutation of Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's fraudulent election claims. Let me see. Let me get the exact. Okay, this is from Voter GA. Okay, the title of this article: Refutation of Georgia Secretary Brad Raffensperger's false election claims. This is dated February 8th, 2022. January 6th, on January 6th, 2021, remember the same day as the first session of the 117 Congress, where they read out that they declassified and unsealed that classified document, right? And read it and talked about how they were involved in our infrastructure. On J 6, 2021, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger wrote to Georgia congressional members, Vice President Pence, and leaders in U.S. Senate and House claiming that false allegations about this November 3rd, 2020 general election in Georgia were being made by the president and his allies. The contents of his letter dramatically contradicted findings by the Georgia General Assembly based on extensive firsthand testimony from 3 hearings. December 3rd, 2020 hearing, Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing. December 10th of 2020, House Government Affairs Committee. December 30th, 2020, Senate Judiciary Subcommittee. Remember, all this evidence on December 17, 2020, Georgia Senate. I won't go through the whole thing, but this is evidence of a subversion letter that Raffensperger sent to Vice President Pence, Georgia members of Congress, and Georgia General Assembly. That's not all. That subversion letter on J6, 2021, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger wrote to Georgia congressional members, Vice President Pence, and leaders in U.S. Senate and House claiming the false allegations about the November 3rd, 2020 Georgia election. Basically, this was a subversion letter to stop those objectors from reading the evidence into record for the people to understand whether or not that was free and fair what happened back in 2020. Remember, this is after over 2 year long research and investigation by Voter GA, the organization. Voters organized for trusted election results in Georgia. Remember, Ken Paxton in Texas was basically involved in similar investigations, and that's why they attacked him as well. Anybody going after Brad Raffensperger to hold him accountable, basically they attacked him with their lawfare, to include President Trump. Okay, so they don't want anybody to see this information, but it's out there. They need to subpoena this guy. But okay, statute of limitations. What, 5 years? It's already over, right? Oh, it's past the statute of limitations, RH. Raffensperger's in the clear. So basically all of Georgia's House and Senate, basically investigated it, and if you go down and read this letter, they had no confidence in their elections. They wanted an investigation. And that's what the subversion letter was all about. So who helped Raffensperger draw up that subversion letter? To be delivered to who? Georgia congressional members, Vice President Pence, and leaders in the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives. This is a subversion letter. This is the document right here. They subverted the objectors with false information that they created. They had to have those 2 Senate seats, right? Kelly Loeffler, and what was the other one? I believe those 2 people won. I forgot what the other guy name was. Let me read this. Finding number 9. Okay, let's read this. On December 17, 2020, the Georgia Senate Judiciary Election Law Subcommittee provided their election integrity findings to Secretary Raffensperger. So Raffensperger saw all this information. He still sent out that subversion letter. That was, I think, there was help in that, him writing that. Again, on December 17th, this was before J6, before the certification process, right? And before that foreign interference report was due from the Director of National Intelligence due to Trump, right? That they didn't release that letter, that report until when? J7, after they fraudulently certified it. On December 17, 2020, Georgia Senate Judiciary Election Law Subcommittee provided their election integrity findings to Secretary Raffensperger and the executive branch. The subcommittee chair was former Judge William Ligon, with 16 years' experience dealing with evidence. Finding number 9 of his report states the oral testimonies of witnesses on December 3rd, 2020, and subsequently the written testimony submitted by many others provide ample evidence that the 2020 Georgia general election was so compromised by systematic irregularities and voter fraud that it should not be certified. When Senator Ligon was asked, what did Secretary Raffensperger do with the evidence in your report? He stated the Secretary did nothing. The Secretary did not even reference any of the General Assembly's evidence in his letter to Congress. Right here, this is the crime. And they continue to cover up. This is a document that anybody can go out there and read for themselves. You could actually go to the December 3rd Senate Judiciary Subcommittee, to that actual hearing, the findings, and read them for yourself. You can go to the December 10th Georgia House Government Affairs Committee and read that investigation results yourself. You can go to the December 30th, 2020 Senate Judiciary Subcommittee investigation and read those results for yourself. Read those reports. Why are many of us focusing on Georgia? Because of those 2 Senate seats. Do you seriously believe? Let's see. Let's go back 2020. Let's go to 2020 Georgia election results. Remember, they found ballots floating down the river? Yeah, find those ballots, right? That's what Trump asked for. Find those ballots before you shred them. Nearly 5 years later, state election board calls for DOJ to help them get 2020 documents. They still don't even have the documents. Their own Congress, their own election board, still don't even have the documents to prove what we already know happened. Okay, Biden lost, right? So if you got a vote, you got a ballot there in Georgia, you had a ballot with whose other what other names were on it. Trump won, right? Georgia in 2020. You seriously believe that everybody that voted for Trump was going to vote for a Democrat senator? You seriously believe that? Let me see here. So Kelly Loeffler was on the ballot. Um, you had Purdue. You had a runoff between Purdue and Ossoff, and then you had a runoff from Loeffler and Warnock, right? So those two, they needed they needed the they needed those two Senate seats, right? That's why they focused heavily on Georgia. They just needed a few. Looks like they say Purdue won he was an incumbent senator, right? So they even projected him the Ossoff the winner before the election was even over. Looks like. So let's go to Loeffler. No, there's no way Loeffler lost against. Let's see here. Warnock. Almost by the exact same margin, right? You know the voter Viagra, the diagram of when the votes were coming in. So both Purdue and Loeffler both won. Those are both Republicans. Purdue was a basically incumbent. He was in office, and you got Loeffler, right, versus Warnock. So both of them won in a state that Trump lost. That's what they want us to believe. You go. People can believe whatever they want to believe. Let's see what happened in Arizona. I know this is old news. I know I hate going back over it but nothing is done to these people. What about Arizona? Well, they say Biden won in Arizona. That's ridiculous. Give me a break. He won by what? 11,000 votes or 10,000 something votes. There's no way. I got a relative that lives in Arizona, and she said herself, "There's no way Biden won that state." I don't believe it either. And we had the first joint session on J6 for the certification process. We had Dr. Gosner, basically, he went through that. He's reading the evidence that he had uncovered so far, right? And that was the first obstruction. That's when they obstructed that process. That's where the insurrection started, right when the first objector started reading the information. The insurrection, the letter, the subversion letter from Brad Raffensperger. We got all the evidence. You know what I mean? All the evidence. So you're going to have to keep on coming up with these fake crimes to obstruct the president of the United States from justice. That's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to continue their operations. It's very obvious now what they did. Okay. Well, it says I got only one viewer on Rumble, so I think I pretty much talked about everything I want to talk about tonight. I hope this information is shared. I'm gonna have to do some research, see if I can bring up the old channel, whatever, before I was deplatformed. See if I can get the followers back here that were following me back in about 2 years ago, going on 3 now. So anyways, go back to no, I wish that President Trump would take Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips's information and basically have a special counsel in on that to see what they uncovered and not to dismiss this stuff, because there's some still treasonous people out there walking free on our streets. And at minimum, remember, they help facilitate. What's the title of tonight's live stream? Let's go back so we can finish this up. National Democratic Redistricting Committee. Okay, basically, remember they had holding facilities. Now, I don't know where all around in the world they had holding facilities, but remember, this is the reason why the Democrats are being seditious now. The Democrats in Texas is because they got caught with gerrymandering the districts with remapping, right? And using their census and their invasion, the foreign invasion, which they all knew was happening, and they didn't do anything about it. Remember, we're talking about the state of Texas, which was the primary receiver of these high crimes and misdemeanors that underwent the invasion by the Biden third term to basically gerrymander the district to take total control of our government and take total control of all these agencies to go in and start their burn barrel parties and burn everything down. Anything remotely associated with their criminal activity over all these years, to basically burn it. We got the evidence. I don't want to hear any mealy-mouthed judge out there saying you can't go to military tribunals. Oh, there's a statute of limitations. We're talking about treason here. Involved in military, foreign militaries as well. Linking that up to Minwith Hill even. RAF Minwith Hill. Ran by the National Security Agency, pretty much. But all that has to go through the king. Now, before it was the queen, remember? You got the evidence of Greg Phillips and Catherine Engelbrecht. You got the evidence of Colonel Steve Waldron. They got the cyber map of the activities of bulk data transmissions going back and forth. You got the unsealed document that was sent to the 117th Congress's clerk to be opened and read before the 117th first congressional session, before they completed the crime, in my opinion. Remember, again, everybody's presumed to be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That doesn't mean you don't just do anything. You don't do anything. It's an attack on a democracy. Even though we're not, the United States is supposed to guarantee to each state and union a republican form of government, and we're not a democracy. And ensure against invasion, not for it, because you need more bodies for your census report old enough to vote, and gerrymander the districts, which they did and are caught. We even have surveillance data of them setting it up. And you think about it, these people, this is just ended. Their term just ended. The Biden term just ended on January 20th of 2025 at 12:01 p.m. At 12:01 p.m., they began their lawfare against President Trump again. Well, no, it's just a continuation of their lawfare. Suing the administration, suing the president. You can't make this stuff up. You got mass murders literally walking around free on the streets of America. And the president of the United States is doing everything he can to keep us safe. With all the obstruction, with all the criminal obstruction still going on in his second term, he's doing everything he can. They're criminally obstructing his nominees. Criminally obstructing them. That's the continuation of the broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow our duly elected government. Because remember, their goal was to falsely imprison Trump, to permanently silence him with their lawfare when he was the former president. What is the crime for treason? Remember, John Brennan and those people called Trump a Russian agent. They called him a traitor. That's a high crime. They falsely implied, and not only implied, but said he was a Russian agent. Who said that? That lady in that avatar picture? That's who. She was working for that man that made that proclamation. That who put together the intelligence community assessment report. Remember, intelligence community, which includes what? I've already read this before, right? Let me read those agencies again real quick, because it's very important. That's why this needs to go to military tribunal, because there was a military aspect of all of this. The coup to overthrow our president. Whether they're civilian leaders over them, ordered them to do it or not, that still needs, they were military members. They have an oath of their own. I had an oath of enlistment. You know, these people could be innocent on the grounds of whatever, of misinformation they were given. But that still doesn't alleviate the fact that they were partially responsible for the overthrow of our duly elected government, the coup that was put in place. Once they installed them for a third term, the crime had been committed. And I have a right, I've earned that right to make that statement. And again, everyone's presumed to be innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Everyone. I don't care what their name is. That's a U.S. citizen. So you can't say this isn't the military involved either in this. When they use tools of war against the American people, that's basically, what is it? It's an act of war on the American people. It's an uncivil war that they began against the American people using their military DARPA PSYOPs operation against American citizens. Actually legalizing it back in 2014 when they altered the Smith-Mundt Act and legalized the use of propaganda. That's what destroyed our free press. Okay. Okay. Why? Why military tribunals? Okay. Because they were part. They witnessed this. Air Force intelligence, Army intelligence, Central Intelligence Agency, Coast Guard intelligence, Defense Intelligence Agency, Department of Energy, Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, Department of the Treasury, Drug Enforcement Administration, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Marine Corps Intelligence, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, National Reconnaissance Office, National Security Agency, National Intelligence or Navy Intelligence, Space Force Intelligence. So now they can't talk openly, right? They can't talk openly. We're not saying all members. Remember, everywhere there's bad apples. That's common sense. You got to hold these people accountable. Or no matter, say, what if this happens to a candidate, a Democrat candidate running for president? Do you think they would lend a blind eye to that? They would turn their backs and they would start destroying all the evidence to basically prove what they knew happened? Of course not. But see, with their psychological warfare operations, they got a lot of people in our country that still believes that Donald Trump is an existential threat to their democracy, where we're not even a democracy to begin with. Remember, a psyops. You got psychiatrists actually running DOD contractors that are they're running these operations covertly. What do you think the team comprised of? What the team is comprised of with a Special Activity Center political action group, whose primary mission is to influence elections, both abroad and in the U.S. How am I going to prove that? Remember? The Hunter Biden laptop has all the hallmarks of what? Russian That's not exactly what was said, right? Has all the earmarks. Oh, the Hunter Biden laptop. There's 3 laptops, not just one. Ask Judge Joe Brown. I got a lot of respect for the man. A lot of respect for the man. Oh, Donald Trump. It's just going to be tit for tat because they got some evidence on Donald Trump from Russia. Where do you think he was running that beauty pageant at? Oh, he paid some hookers to pee on the bed that Barack Obama and Big Mike slept on in Moscow. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Michelle Obama. There's a lot of rumors out there. I mean, pretty bad. I mean, I don't like. I shouldn't have said it. I apologize. I'm not going to be the package checker, though. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's not my job. Call Crocodile Dundee in for that mission. Oh, it was a joke. Wow. Well, Grandma, you got some pretty wide shoulders there, Grandma. You look like a defensive linebacker. Grandma, man, look at those muscular legs. Grandma, man, look at those fists. Grandma. Man, who's running the show in the Obama homestead? I think Michelle's running the show there. Barry Barry had to run to the French Polynesia. Marlon Brando, escaped there, and I don't know. Kind of rumors there's a yacht out there in international waters. Maybe they thought he was going to be arrested back then. I don't know. Well, they set the precedent, didn't they? They did it themselves. What is that saying? What is good for the goose is good for the gander? Something like that. I don't know. I don't believe in that. But let me just say this here real quick. We went to this very horrible, very, very horrible in the history of our country. These people facilitated and directed an invasion into our country, which included a foreign military and terrorist insurgency. Remember General Nagasaki's testimony about foreign individuals coming into our country and taking over our infrastructure? What do they call the machines? What do they call those e-machines? They're part of the infrastructure, right? Well, they bring them in. Wow, even ran out of Siberia? Yeah, I've heard all this stuff. So let me ask you all this question. Did the global pandemic based on the new coronavirus, did that influence the election in any way? Was there foreign interference in that in any way? Well, golly, RH. You're looking at the picture of the avatar, right? People are still here. What does that picture represent? Do I got to change out? Okay, let me change out the picture, okay? So you see the name right there, right? Avril Haines. I hate to just use her, but there's many other examples as well. Remember who her bosses were? John Brennan, who falsely said that President Trump colluded with Russia to interfere in our elections. He was a Russian agent. That was her boss. That's why she was rewarded to director of national intelligence position. They didn't take away her clearance, did they? Oh, and they didn't take away Brendan's clearance either. News alert, they did not take away John Brennan's security clearance. Why? They blamed President Trump's White House. They said that the President Trump's White House committed they had administrative errors. They could not remove John Brennan's security clearance. And if they did, and they kept him barred from going into the CIA headquarters, whatever. Remember, there's 4 other eyes out there. Remember where John Brennan has been operating from. He's operating out of London. So remember, military tribunals. We have military people there at Menwith Hill, that surveillance site, and Yorkshire, United Kingdom. Okay. Unattenuated and attenuated. Of what? You don't even know because it's not listed, right? Left intentionally blank. And then to top it off, they ran an invasion into our country. Hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children have died. I just watched a sheriff basically nearly die because when they arrested a certain individual, he was in contact with fentanyl. He nearly died just from being in contact, not ingesting it, not whatever they do, snort it or whatever they do. I don't know what they do, but basically the man nearly died. There's something they have to give him really quick or he will die, or he would have died. His partner was running frantically back and forth to find that whatever they had to give him. I don't know if it's an injection or he had to sniff it in or whatever. They had to administer that whatever they administered him with, or he'd have died. Hundreds of thousands of American men, women, and children have died from fentanyl alone based on their invasion that they facilitated and directed into our country. Those people on standby, in my opinion, for in case we start holding them account, or there's official account. I'm in no position to hold anybody accountable. Only thing I can do is speak about what I've seen and learned and hope that these people get the justice they deserve, whether they're guilty or innocent. If they're innocent, I'm glad you're declared innocent, proven innocent, and everyone's presumed to be innocent. Now, how could you be that dumb? Did they not include her in on that data intel? So she sat right next to the guy? Remember, he was helping to oversee the bioweapons labs in China. Even the ones ran by the People's Army, whatever, People's Liberation Army. He was helping to oversee going out there, those that went out there to get the samples, to bring it back to the lab, to gerrymander them. What is that called, by the way? Once you basically conduct a gain of function and you process it, what does it become after that? If you disperse it, it becomes a bioweapon. So, National Democratic Redistricting Committee and facilitating the invasion has cost hundreds of thousands of American deaths. Hundreds of thousands. And you're going to say, oh, that's not treason. They didn't implement war against the American people. I beg your pardon. I beg to differ, I should say. I don't beg the pardon for these people. Oh, he's got information that ties him to the island. Really? They got where do you think they got their information from? Where did they get the information of the dossier that Trump paid prostitutes in Russia to go pee on the bed of Michelle and Barack Obama when they were sleeping in the bed of the enemy in Moscow? See, that's why they had to narrow that in. Knowing it was totally BS, they had to accuse Trump of that. And guess what they had to have? They had to have foreign influence. If Trump conducted those activities on Russian soil, guess who you had to have to verify it? It's obvious. You had to have Putin verify it. Right? Yeah. You and Barry and Vlad must be rolling around laughing their butts off, right? Of how stupid they think we all are. So the worst thing of all this is here, the people that are responsible or help facilitate and direct mass murder or were complicit in it in one way, shape, or form or the other, they can be arrested right now. And I don't care who says what. I don't care what the arguments are. Because the information is very, very clear. It's all centered around the elections of these Marxists, these socialists, these communists trying to take over total control of our government, of our country. That's what it boils down to. They don't care how many people has died. You can see it is obvious. So you would think just with the fentanyl alone, there would be there would be some accountability. Well, we've already seen how they handled their justice, right? They couldn't even impeach Mayorkas from office. Why? Because so many people are involved that hate Trump on both sides of the aisle or all sides of the aisle. They didn't care. They didn't care about you or I. They didn't care if they bankrupt us. They put our businesses out of bankrupt our businesses, whatever. They didn't care about our livelihoods. They didn't care about shutting down churches. They didn't care about anything. And you're going to vote for that garbage? You're going to continue, those people out there I'm talking about, you're going to continue to support these mass murders who are these individuals that are complicit in mass murder. You're not my friend. And you're somebody, if you are one of those people, you support death and destruction, you're not my friend. Yeah, I know. The highest level of spiritual elevation is loving our enemies. Right? Yeah. Why? I guess you can say we've all been deceived, right? We've all been deceived. Have we been deceived on this scale before, though? Do people listening to this live stream, do y'all like to be played as a bunch of fools? I'm not lecturing people here. Believe me, I'm not. Remember, we're in this all together. I don't even care what political affiliation you have. You got to reconcile that with God at Judgment Day, or God will reconcile that with you on Judgment Day, on all of us, independently, for our own actions. The longer these mass murderers are left to walk free on our streets in our country, and these terrorists to operate freely and mix in with us in our own country, they blend in, right? You think they're going to wear their military uniforms and goose step in our town squares? Of course not. These people will do anything to keep themselves from being held accountable. Anything. They don't care how many people die, fall around them. They don't care. Hell, they'll even start a nuclear war because they think they can go to their bunkers and, oh, let's all come together. Remember, hundreds of thousands of people have died. We got the evidence of the holding facilities. We got the evidence of the transportation, military transportation, military operations, bringing these people into our country for 4 years. And you say, no, there can't be military tribunals. It's all got to go through the civilian justice system. What's just about it? When it's all rigged. You got to kind of say it's all rigged for Satan, the prince of death, right? It's all rigged for the prince of death. You can say that, whether you believe in God or not. You should be able to understand there's a difference between good and evil, right? And evil is bad. Oh, no, that's right. In today's day, what's sick is good, right? That's bad, ASS. What's bad is good. Word. That's not the word of God they're talking about. That's the opposite word. Oh, it's going to take time, RH. You got to make sure this is Did they take time? Did they take any time to arrest President Trump? How long did it take to arrest Trump? Didn't take him long at all. How long did it take them to put together the Russia BS? The presidential finding to give Obama to give the order for the intel agencies to start spying on Trump and everybody associated with Trump. Both foreign and domestic, by the way. Remember they said, oh, it was a team of computer scientists that hacked into the Trump Tower server, right? Oh, he was basically working with Alpha Bank. Remember all this BS? Come on now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't care what information they destroy. It's gone already. You already got so much information. It's like walking under the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and you're getting smacked in the face with the evil everywhere you go. There's no good left in that tree anymore at all. And people are practicing the evil all around you, all around us. We secured the southern border. What's still going on at the northern border? They don't have the manpower. I can tell you that right now. What do you think? The Mounties, the Royal Mounties, what are they going to do? They're gonna secure that border on horseback? I guess that's the largest unsecured border in U.S. history or world history, something like that. The largest unsecured border. You know, and President Trump is only one man. But look what all he's done for the good of our country, to help resecure our country, to help make our streets safe again. See, they want you to be scared. They want you hiding in your homes. Do we think this uptick in these, what do you call it, mass murders? Do we think that's all just a coincidence? Okay, let's go to this again real quick. What's the justification of arresting these people? The justification. You say, oh, you got to go through the process, right? United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or the executive against domestic violence. You had one mayor in Baltimore, right? She said, let the kids vent. Pretty much something like that, right? And protect each of them against invasion and against domestic violence, right? Is that say for in the Constitution? No, it says against invasion. Did they protect our citizens against invasion from January 20th of 2021 to January 20th of 2025? No, just the opposite, for their own personal interest. They are complicit in mass murder, or they're accessories to mass murder. Period, cut and dry. I don't care what you say. They say. Not people here. I care what people say, but maybe I should rephrase that. When it pertains to what I'm talking about. What happened during the summer of love? Those people, those mayors, what did they do? What did the governors do? What were they spreading? Trump's a traitor, right? They're still playing off the people were, since they're victims of a psychological warfare operation put together by psychiatrists, right? They they were gaslighted into doing things, a lot of people doing things that they normally would never do. And then when you basically add to the fact of certain drugs, they were doing things out of their mind. Okay, so the evidence is there. Well, they're gonna play the DC two-step another 4 or 5 years, right? Or 3.5 years, and nothing to see here, folks. It'll be back to business as usual. Well, actually, until Trump gets his people in his nominees in those positions, which they are criminally obstructing, right? It will still be business as usual for Washington, D.C. You still got the normal licenses out there. You still got all the rest of them. Whatever. They're lawfare. Nothing's changed. But except, at least thank God that our southern border looks to be pretty much secured. You know, securing the border, even that, they can't be there at every inch, a step of the way. We have our covert operations too as well. The border wall is just a vital national security deterrent. It's a deterrent. It's not fail proof, right? Especially if you got evil individuals on the inside still helping to facilitate it. Remember, their soldiers are already here. Their foot soldiers are already here. They're both civilian, foreign military, and domestic. They're already here. They're already in place. Maybe you have to have these covert arrests, right? Bring these people in, and you got to interrogate these people. What are you going to do? I mean, they even got the video footage, I believe, on a lot of these individuals that are still in our country. The federal government can't control every state or every city, especially those that provide sanctuaries for criminals to operate freely in their states. So, with that said, remember, in God we trust, and remember, we just have to stay on the right team and always do what's right. Don't wait for somebody else to do what's right. Always do what's right. And for those people that are still sitting on the sidelines, what are you still sitting on the sidelines for? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Wait to see a man-made mushroom cloud pop up over one of our cities? Is that time you're going to get off the sidelines and basically help? I'm just doing my job. I don't have a need to know. I swore I would be silent. I made a pact I have a non-disclosure agreement. Well, if you want, there's plenty of, I think there's an example of people you can go to be a whistleblower. Try to break through that shell. Believe me, is sometimes there's a wall of protection to keep whistleblowers out, not to help whistleblowers, but to keep them silent. Okay, remember, just stay on the right team. Remember team spirit, and the best place to understand team spirit is John chapter 17, in my opinion. With that said, good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you're from. This concludes the live stream, and I hope it helps, and please share. Thank you.